Welcome back to Project 613. Previously, we learned the Torah's mitzvah governing transactions, of how a person can affect a transaction when an object or property transfers from one party to another, and the different modes of acquisition that the Torah sets in place. Now, all of those laws we're talking about when person A owned something, and then it was going to transfer to person B, and how that transfer is to take place. However, there is another type of taking ownership of a property or of an object in a way where there is only one party, and that is when there is ownerless property. In Hebrew, this is called hefker, ownerless property, and Maimonides tells us that there are actually three ways of how there could be ownerless property, and the ways in which someone can acquire ownerless property. So one way is simply if a person, for whatever reason, decides to declare his property or some of his property ownerless, to something that I have no need for anymore, and I say from now on it's ownerless, it's up for grabs, it's no longer mine. That's one way that could be ownerless property. Another way is if there is a land, a field, a lake, some part of some property somewhere where no one has ever claimed ownership for, as far as anyone knows. So that would also be ownerless property. And finally, in the case of a convert who passes away, you see there is an interesting law which we will learn about another time when it comes to the laws of inheritance, that of course we know that children inherit their parents. But what happens if there are no children? So it is actually the job of the Beit Din, of the Jewish court, to seek out the closest relatives that there are to this individual. If he didn't have any children, we would look at his siblings. If he didn't have any siblings, we would go back a generation and look at his parents' siblings. If they didn't have siblings, we would go back as far as we need to go back and then come back down again, and maybe we would find a fourth, a fifth, a sixth cousin who would be a blood relative who would then be able to inherit his property. But there is one type of person that doesn't have Jewish blood relatives, and that would be a convert. And in the case of a convert who passes away, if he doesn't have children, then we do not go backward. Rather, his property is declared ownerless. So these are the type of examples where there could be ownerless property. And the Torah tells us how a person can acquire the ownerless property. This is mainly done through something called chazaka. We learned previously that chazaka is when a person establishes his ownership, either by doing something on the property or taking hold of it in a way that it's clear that he is now currently the owner. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.